welcome everyone to the Focus TV. We got Xavier White here, Raymond Lyons, Wilson Tarpe Jr. This is season 7, episode 20. We told you guys last week when we kind of previewed the NCAA tournament. This week we'll have some results, and we do in fact have results. The first 2 rounds have been completed. When 48 hours after, as we're taking this 48 hours, pretty much Thursday night, we'll be starting the Sweet 16. Then the Elite 8, and we'll know who's going to be in the Final Four. It's really that simple, but we'll get started on the women's side. And we'll just kind of go through what happened in the first round, and we'll stop in some place, and the others we will keep moving, like this very first stop, South Carolina. It's not much to say. Malaysia Fuwali, their bench, then she said they called their bench the seatbelt bunch. 39 points surrendered in the first game, 41 surrendered in the second game. If y'all have anything y'all would like to add about South Carolina, feel free to do so.
No explanation needed.
Okay.
I don't know.
Shout out to North Carolina beating Michigan State in a close one. And then, they reward with South Carolina. It is what it is. Oklahoma beat FGCU. Then they fell to Indiana. So Big Ten, folks got to be happy. You got Indiana taking on South Carolina. Got a nice matchup there between, you got Cardoso, South Carolina, and I think Mackenzie Holmes, who's still in Indiana, trying to finish out her time there. But Indiana's a well-coached team. But South Carolina is South Carolina. So see how that goes. Got Nebraska. They beat Texas A&M 61-59. Then they took it on Oregon State. Oregon State handled business in the 3-14 matchup. Then Oregon State took down Nebraska in the 3-6 matchup. We got Ole Miss beating Marquette. Then Notre Dame doing what they do. And then it was a good game between Ole Miss and Notre Dame. Just Ole Miss just couldn't – I think it stretches during that game. They couldn't get over the hump to kind of cut that lead and really make a game of it. But at the same time, they refused to get put away by any more than that margin. It was just tough sledding for them. Slide down here to Texas. This is I think I saw one of my guys the other day, a very special freshman class. You got Maddie Booker down in Texas. We got Juju USC. We'll talk about her just a little bit. But Texas and Vic Schaefer doing what they do, 82-42 in round 1. Then they took on Alabama, who won a hard-fought game against Florida State. And Texas beat Alabama, and they're waiting, taking on Gonzaga. So right now, that's 2 1 seeds, right? Being where they're supposed to be. You got Utah beating South Dakota State, Gonzaga beating UC Irvine. Gonzaga took down Utah 77-66 to make it to the Sweet 16 or take on Texas. Tennessee handled Green Bay. Then they took on NC State. Shout out to NC State beating Tennessee. That was a very good game to watch. But again, it was kind of chalk there as well, but it was a really good game. Tennessee, similar to Ole Miss, couldn't get over the hump. Credit to NC State for putting them away 79-72. We had Iowa State and Maryland. Stayed there for a little bit. Tough for Maryland. Audie Crooks, freshman big. They have a really talented freshman class at Iowa State. She went for 40 in that one. We saw Maryland get hot from deep early in that one. And then I know we keep getting away from bigs mattering in basketball. It's not true. It's not true at all. When you can get twos, I think she was 18-20 from the floor. You're not going to hit enough threes to deal with that. It's 18-20 from 2 is tough to deal with. I thought it was a hell of a job by Maryland's group this year for fighting through the adversity they fought with. And, I think you guys remember what I said heading to the tournament. When they were going to have to deal with teams with size, there was nothing they could do about all the critics. All right, styles make fights. It's okay. All right. And then once Iowa State was able to try to start hitting threes because of the attention Crooks was drawing, it's tough, man. Shout out to Ali Kubek, had a career night in that game, in that first round matchup. But for Maryland, some of the stuff they need, some of it's going to come from in-house already, in terms of their size. I'm sure it hurt Brendan not looking to that bench where you got 6'7" Howard DeMoya ready to Next year, though. You have an option next year, though. But credit to those seniors this year for the job they did. They fought through a lot of adversity, and this was another instance of the Maryland's got in trouble, foul trouble. So their two guards, they don't do well in those lost minutes. Those minutes they're tough for them, especially when you're not that deep. Especially with some of your injuries came to Riley Nelson was supposed to play a pivotal role this year with that third ball handle. When she went down, that was tough. But again, shout out to Maryland for the year. They did indeed have credit to Iowa State. Yeah, Stanford did what they had to do against Norfolk State. And then Iowa State and Stanford, that was a hell of a game. Y'all stayed up and watched that?
Not the whole thing, but man, they was rumbling.
Another freshman.
Yeah, that game was crazy. And shout out to Stanford for Kiki Ifarine.
Mm-hmm.
I love her performance. Because you avoided being one of those teams that we're going to talk about this a little later, where you wouldn't have had to travel home for your season to end. You just walk to the locker rooms, take the scooter back to the. You were on campus already. Sorry, Octavia. I know you were drinking. I apologize, but you're on campus already. Like, you ain't had nowhere to go at all. You sit there, just take it. But hell of a game, very exciting. I was happy watching Twitter go crazy, regardless of the men's or the women's sides of the tournament, with games that were really good. And that was a hell of a game, man. And then you got Stanford, NC State. Like, we saw Cameron Brink fall out of that game. Her and Audie Crooks went at it. But that's just that first top part of the bracket. Let's get to the other side. Iowa taking care of business against Holy Cross. They took on West Virginia. West Virginia beat Princeton, which Princeton is always a tough out. I don't care what's going on in life. Princeton is an annoying team to play. I got to get y'all's take on this real quick, man. What did y'all think about the Iowa West Virginia game? Because people were in their feelings on social media about that game. So I just want to get y'all's take on it before we move
on. I mean, yeah, I know the first thing people want to jump to is the seemingly favorable whistle, but and yeah, that plays a part, but West Virginia also had their chances, so you don't want to just completely discredit the team that won and say, oh, the refs. I mean, it is what it is. You already know how that goes if you're West Virginia anyway. So you got to capitalize on the chances you get, and they were right there till they weren't. So I mean, Iowa got it done. They're moving on to the next round. It's not much more you can say. Had West Virginia made a couple different choices, maybe that doesn't matter, And I'm not gonna discount the discrepancy there, but I mean, if we're going to dissect every basketball game like that, then what's the purpose? Because there's a lot of games where a team has a huge free throw advantage, and teams have been able to overcome that, and West Virginia could overcame it. So you got to let the result speak for itself. And but kudos to them, man. They played a hell of a game. They did the things that make life difficult for Caitlin Clark. They were aggressive defensively. They crowded her space, and they made it tough. And that's what gave them position to be there in the end. But they just couldn't get over the hump like a couple teams we already discussed.
Octavia, so you're nodding your head when he's talking about some of the calls. Your thoughts on that one? Because again, social media went nuts.
Yeah, I try not to be that person, but sometimes it is hard. Because to me, it was definitely some questionable calls, especially in a tight game like that, where, yes, West Virginia definitely had plenty of chances to actually win the game. They kept Kate Martin and Gabby Marshall under control for most of the game. And based off of how their season goes, if they're not scoring good amount, they're not really winning. So a lot of their losses, they were held to very low point output, and they had them like that. They had them rattled. I don't think they were up at the half. They might have been down by 2 or something like that. I can't remember. They were right there with them for the whole game. Um, but it goes with the territory, unfortunately. That's what happens when you're a number one seed. They worked hard all season to be a number one seed, to be able to play at home, to be able to play in their arena, play with their um, play with their rims and everything. So I mean, it sucks, but West Virginia was right there, you know, in the game, but they just weren't able, like Ray said, to get over the hump.
Again, we're gonna talk about some of this a little later. So I was gonna be taking on Colorado. We saw Colorado take care of Drake. We mentioned Colorado last week when we were talking about the preview. Then you had Colorado in the 5-4 matchup, taking on Kansas State, who beat Portland. And they beat Kansas State 63-50 to earn their way to take on Iowa in that 1-5 matchup. Another interesting game. You got Middle Tennessee State knocking off Louisville. Louisville was the 6th seed, 11-6. 11 seed knocking off the 6 seed in the first round. Then for much of this game, they had to serve somebody else on the ropes, in trouble, if you will. And then, again, depending on where your fandom lies, led to some of the commentary about this game. So LSU goes on a big run late, close the game. And Octavia, you got first dibs on this.
I mean, at this point, I have no dog in these races because Maryland is out. I'm just pulling for upsets at this point now. We saw one in another game I'm sure we'll get to. But, I mean, that's back-to-back games. LSU ain't looked really that good, to be fair. And it ain't going to do nothing but get a little bit tougher as time goes on and on. They're in the news a lot recently, not for basketball reasons as well. I need their coach to relax. Um, I mean, that's kind of an oxymoron talking about them mostly relaxing, but yeah, it ain't looking too easy. I mean, Haley Van Lith. I mean, I know her Louisville team got put out as well, but I mean, she hasn't had a good tournament as well. She even got bench started in the second half. For last year Poa. Uh, yeah, and I mean, honestly, outside of, I mean, I don't want to downplay Angel or even Anissa Morrow, but Flage to me has probably been playing the best out of all of them. She's been playing hard on defense. She's been scoring. She's been everywhere too. But of course, you got your mainstays and Angel, who she's still killing it on the board, and Anissa down there as well. But it's only gonna get worse. I can't remember who they play next, but whoever they play next, they also got some big girls too, I believe. But it's going it's about to go down soon. So
Yeah, they'll be taking on UCLA.
yeah, that's the Lord best. Yeah, she gonna be.
Uh-huh. Ray, your thoughts on LSU as they try to navigate through this thing where, we talk about sports all the time, windows and teams taking advantage of the opportunities or whatever. As we're going through this tournament, it looks like, shout out to LSU for taking advantage of the opportunity they had last year. And I'm not saying they can't do it again, just an example of why it's great to take advantage of opportunities when you have them, because nothing is promised. And usually the year after, it's tough as hell to get back, let alone win it again. They got tested more in this one since the run last year. We 2 rounds in.
Yeah, no, I agree with Octavia, man. They haven't looked like they're a team that's about to make a run. They beat Rice by 10 in the first round. Then, again, for most of the game, Middle Tennessee State was giving them everything they could handle. They just broke it open late. Yeah, man, they've been up and down the whole season for the most part. And like Wilson said, man, it only gets tougher. They're going to have their hands full against UCLA. Should they escape that game, kudos to them. But yeah, that's going to be a tall task. I know everybody wants to see the rematch. I want LSU, but both of them got some work to do because Colorado is not an easy out either. But but yeah, they were able. LSU was able to do something special last year. I think the infusion of all those moving pieces, it disrupts your rhythm, and it still doesn't seem like they've gelled yet. And this is not a good time not to have great continuity when you're trying to fight your way through this tournament. So yeah, man. Hopefully they can get it done. Like I said, that's going to be tough because they're playing a team that is more comfortable with each other at this point, and they have a lot of talent. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they figure this one out.
Yeah, UCLA is they out here. They're not for play at all. So we'll see how that goes. They were in fact the 2 seed for a reason, and we'll see how things fare. We're going to and UCLA got here by beating CA Baptist and then taking care of Creighton 67-63, which was a good game. But UCLA's again chalk. We got a 2-3 matchup. You gotta love it. You got a 2-3 matchup on both sides so far. The 1-4, you got 1-5 on this side, but sliding down to this last region, USC beat Texas A&M 55. Kansas beat Michigan in the 8-9 matchup, and then it was a pretty good game last night between UNC and Kansas until Juju had a couple spurts in that game, and that was kind of different for USC. I'd love to provide you with more insight. That's all I have in that one, but y'all are free to add on. So me shut up. But that's what I saw. The youngster got started a little early, went away for a little bit. USC got the tripping a little bit. She resurfaced. They gained control of the game, and it was okay. But again, kudos to Kansas. That was a tough out too. USC will be taking on Baylor. Baylor beat Vanderbilt. Then they met Virginia Tech in a 5-4 matchup, and they got a 4 seed out the way, beating Virginia Tech. That was a really good game. It was a shout out to Baylor for getting that done. Look at Nikki Colleen over there coaching. I'm just gonna leave that there. You could be a good person and coach too. It is possible. It's not mutually exclusive. Take from that what you will. Yeah, Syracuse beating Arizona 74-69. UConn beating Jackson State 86-64. Then we watch Syracuse and UConn go at it. Deja Fair, one of the best scorers in all of college basketball. And, Paige is still around. I know she doesn't get the pub she used to get, but UConn with a tough win in their building. Shout out to KK Arnold. Big shots. Another freshman out this class. That's a big shot to help your team. They try to get the ball out of Paige. Shout out to Paige for making a pass to a teammate. But KK hits a huge shot to put that game away because Syracuse was right there. Syracuse refused to go away in that game. Then you got Duke. They beat Richmond 72-61. And then Duke and Ohio State. It's been a rough postseason for Ohio State, man. They got upset in the Big Ten tournament. Maryland got almost dubbed them in the Big Ten tournament early on, which helped Maryland get into the tournament for sure. That was we in there. That was 1 seed in our tournament, a 2 seed. Get them out of here. They get the 2 seed in the big tournament. And then Duke gets them out of here 75-63. Shout out to Carol Lawson and company down at Duke. That was a really good game to watch. And then now you got Duke taking on UConn, which should be a fun matchup. But that's what we had on the women's side. We'll slide over to the men's side, which it's been a little bit more chalk on that side at times. But there's some people we're going to be in that discussion we have a little bit later too, because of things that they did or did not do. Y'all know who we talk about when we get there. We got Houston again, chalk. They're going to be taking on Duke. You see Houston and Duke in the South region handling business all the way here. Houston beat Longwood 86-46. Held on against Texas A&M 100-95. Duke beat Vermont 64-47, and then they did what they did to James Madison in the 4-12 matchup, 93-55. So we got a 1-4 matchup in the Sweet 16 in Houston and Duke. Cardell was telling y'all about NC State coming off the ACC tournament. So hopefully no one's shocked here, but they beat Texas Tech in the first round. Then they beat Oakland. And Oakland got here by knocking off Kentucky 80-76 in the first round. That was one of those upsets heard around college basketball. And Oakland pushed NC State a little bit. But NC State, big fella, they had one. Oakland did not have an answer for big fella. And sometimes it's that simple, man. So shout out to NC State making it to where they did. They'll be in the Sweet 16, and they'll be taking on Marquette. Colorado beat Florida in the 10-7 matchup to open the tournament. Marquette beat Western Kentucky. Then Marquette took care of Colorado, and they'll be there to face NC State. On the in the Midwest side, we got Purdue. Remember, they got embarrassed last year, how they exited the tournament. Zach Edey was like, not this time. I'm not going. 78-50 Grambling is what they did to Grambling. And they beat Utah State 106-67. Completely unnecessary. Utah State TCU 88-72 in that opening round matchup. Gonzaga beat McNeese. Kansas held on against Stanford. You got Kansas, Gonzaga, and Gonzaga. They just ran away from Kansas, man. And again, we're going to talk about some of these folks. Bill Self, I might let you live this year. You didn't make the question in rapid fire. One of your guys did, though. Because of him, you shall be spared. You did thank Coach Cal for that. But we got Gonzaga taking on Purdue. That should be a good game. South Carolina got upset by Oregon 87-73 in the 11-6 matchup. Creighton beat Akron, and then Creighton took down Oregon, 3 beating 11, so chalk. Then down here, you had Texas beating Colorado State. They fell to Tennessee in the second round. Shout out to Tennessee holding off Texas. And then we got Creighton, Tennessee. Creighton is an annoying team out the Big East. That's going to be a fun one to see how that goes. And then I guess we'll start down here. We got North Carolina beating Wagner. Shocker. Michigan State beat Mississippi State. And then North Carolina put hands on Tom Izzo on them. Y'all were talking last week about why Michigan State was in the tournament or what have you. North Carolina showed why they felt maybe that they shouldn't have been there. Got them out the way real easy like. Then we had Grand Canyon knock off St. Mary's in the 12-5 matchup. Isn't that weird seeing St. Mary's be the 5 seed in the matchup instead of the 12? Feel like that's really weird seeing it. But Grand Canyon, shout out to them. They took on Alabama, and Alabama held off Grand Canyon. They'll be facing North Carolina in a 1-4 matchup in that West region. We had Clemson beating New Mexico. Then they took down Baylor. Baylor was a 3 seed. So instead of the 2-3 matchup on this side, you got 2-6 as Arizona handled business in both of their games, knocking off Long Beach State and Dayton. So you got Arizona, Clemson in the 2-6 matchup, North Carolina and Alabama. Then that final group we'll be discussing. We'll start with Iowa State beating South Dakota State. They then took on Washington State, who beat Drake. Iowa State chalk. They're on to the Sweet 16. They did their part. Illinois beat Morehead State. Then they beat Duquesne. 2-3 matchup on that side, which you have to love. And then UConn took care of Stetson. They then played Northwestern. A little bit of a rock fight there for a little while, but Donovan Clingan joined a very special group of big men to put up 14 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 blocks. I believe it was Dream and David Robinson that he joined in doing that in college, which isn't bad company. And I will say this slowly. I'm not saying that he is either one of those two guys, just simply that they shared a graphic because they accomplished this one specific thing. San Diego State knocking off UAB. They then beat Yale, and Yale knocked off Auburn. So Auburn was the other team over there, Bruce Pearl, over there at Auburn. That's a nasty loss. Cardell talked about Yale. Danny Wolf didn't have the greatest games in that game, but they got out of there. And then they fell to San Diego State. So this is a rematch. These guys, I don't think they met in the Sweet 16 that year, but they met. I think they met like the Elite 8. The year that Kemba and company made that run, it was Kemba's Huskies and Kawhi's Kawhi's Aztecs. So that year during that run, those two teams met. They'll be meeting again in the 1-5 matchup. So again, we got the Sweet 16. Any games you guys specifically looking forward to this weekend? Or you just ready to see the chaos ensue, regardless of what side of the bracket we're talking about?
For me, as far as the men, I definitely want to see this Duke and Houston game. You know, I guess blue bloods, the blue blood of Duke. I mean, but we know Houston's the number one a lot this year. Duke has had some up and downs, but they seem to be playing well. So I'm super excited to see how that goes down.
Right? Any game bigger than must see TV for you this weekend on either side?
Um, nah, nothing really stands out. But I do want to see you know, NC State, those teams that kind of peak at the end are always dangerous. So I just want to see how long they can sustain that. And North Carolina, coming off the ACC championship loss, I want to see if they're really on a revenge tour, so to speak. Especially trying to send Armando Bacot out right, you know. But yeah, then UConn, to me they're the best team right now. I just want to see if they can finish the job, man.
Yeah, I'm just here to see how much if as we continue going forward, will it remain chalk? Because if it remains chalk, we're getting a hell of a Final Four. Also, that means brackets have been ruined because you're not supposed to have that many lower digit seeds altogether. Rarely does that ever happen. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't have a specific game I'm looking forward to. The only dog I have in either fight is UConn on both sides, but more so for the men. I just want to see can I go back to back. That's it. Either get it done or don't. Either way, I'm happy. I got me to last year. I'm at peace. The women, y'all be fine. Y'all get back. Whatever happens, it's house money. It's okay. There's a winner in the building. I'm cool. We're gonna take a break, and when we get back, Ray, you're gonna tell us about the Washington Wizards. You guys are watching the Focus TV. We will return shortly. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, the Washington Wizards segment. Ray, the floor is yours.
All right. This is not a joke. The Wizards currently have the longest winning streak in the Eastern Conference, sitting at 3 games. Since we last spoke, the Wizards have beaten the Sacramento Kings, the Toronto Raptors, and the Chicago Bulls. A 3-game winning streak. Who'd have thunk it? But in all seriousness, me and Wilson were talking about it on Outlook last night. They got 3 wins in 3 different ways. We're used to seeing them show versatility in how they lose games. They kind of flipped the script over the last week. The young guys are continuing to get opportunities with folks being out and even making the most of them. Last night we saw they started out hot, and one of the criticisms we've had of them all season is when teams punch back. That's pretty much it for the Wizards. They don't have a second win. It's no type of counter or anything. That wasn't the case last night. They kind of blitzed the Bulls in the first quarter, and then the Bulls kind of jumped on them in the middle 2 quarters. But the Wizards closed them out. Get this, with defense and rebounding in the fourth quarter. So yeah, man, they're just doing what we've been asking the entire season. That's just to compete for 4 quarters, man. Just put complete games together. And they've been doing that, and it's been yielding results. And for the Kings and the Bulls, those were games that they needed. They're fighting for seeding right now, so they can't afford to drop any games, especially to a team that's in the Wizards position. You see them on the schedule at this point in the season, and you're chalking that up as a W. But to come into those games and not get those pretty much quote unquote guaranteed wins, it hurts you at this stage. So yeah, man, it's kudos to them, man. They're continuing to show fight. We know what the season is at this point, but it's just about building habits, man, and trying to get people to go about their business the right way. And they've been doing that. So, hopefully it continues. Hopefully they can go into the season, into the off season with some positivity and something to look forward to. A lot of decisions are going to have to be made. This roster is going to be very fluid. But right now guys are just trying to, make it hard for those front office folks to cross them off the list. So yeah, hopefully they can just, be consistent and continue with this level of play. And yeah, man, we can have more positive reports.
How about that? Positive reports for the win. So many of the opposite this year. It still feels weird hearing 3-game win streak, but shout out to them. Hopefully they can continue, man. Ray and I, we talked to everyone several more times this week. They got 3 games the rest of this week, so we'll be checking in with you guys. And then next week, Ray will let you guys, for you guys that don't watch Wizards Outlook that may be watching, hey man, who knows what we'll be discussing, what Ray will have to say next week. It's up to the Wizards, but so far I can't get mad at the last stretch of play, right? That's all anybody can really ask for. Switching gears a little bit, moving over to DC United. They had a busy weekend. First time meeting between DC United and St. Louis City. You had a bad ball played out of the back by DC United early in this game, and it led to an opportunity. You guys see it right here. You never want this. Clean shot, just a little bit too wide. Then you had another blunder, near blunder, playing out of the back, literally a couple minutes later. But in the 18th minute, they paid for it. Josh Yarrow would score off a corner kick. It was a beautiful pass and a solid header to give St. Louis the 1-0 lead. I think this is the corner kick right here. You can see Josh Yarrow. I think he's supposed to be marked by Christian Benteke. He gets free, and it's a nice header back to the far post. And look, they're on the board. The home team's up 1-0. Visiting DC United would respond a few minutes later. Like in terms of how quick the response was by DC United, they were still announcing Josh Yarrow's name in terms of, the announcers typically say several times in stadium or in arena that, who the goal scorer is. So he scored in the 18th minute. Man, Benteke put a blistering header on frame, literally 45 to 60 seconds later. The goalkeeper got a hand on it. It hit the post. Then it hit the ground, and Ted Pietro was right there. Yeah, this was less than a minute later. This is a hell of a header right here. Whole lot of heat on that. Keeper gets a hand on it, and Pietro gets probably his easiest goal in his young professional career. I might hold it to be one of his easiest goals in his entire career several years down the line. Didn't have to do much, but great pass from Stroud here, I believe. And then Benteke put some steam on this. Hell of a reaction from the keeper. I thought Benteke would have scored, but the keeper with some amazing reaction time. Then you had 2 free kicks from St. Louis. They weren't able to capitalize. Bono having to make a couple of saves as the half started to expire. Stroud once again finds Benteke in the 37th minute, and Benteke would finish with the goal. Try to pull that up for you guys in just a bit. Yeah, there it is. To Stroud finding Benteke by way of click. Click. Getting a click right here with a clever little touch. Stroud in the space. Benteke is going to do what he's done most of his career. Put the ball in the back of the net. For DC United, you're the visiting team. You're in a great place. You're up 2-1. Benteke would get another quality chance, a chance to put your team up 3-1. For those who haven't watched soccer all their life, one of the most dangerous scores one of the most dangerous numbers to see on the scoreboard is the number 2. You just don't feel safe. Nothing good is about it. Someone can go on a 2-goal run and you're down 2, or it stays there and the other team doesn't lose any hope because you just stuck at you're at 2. It doesn't have a damning effect either way. But they close out the half. St. Louis goes into the half down a goal. Bono came up with another big save in the 67th minute. But before the shot, you had a penalty called, and St. Louis would capitalize from the penalty spot. It was Klaus providing the equalizer. This is the chance Benteke got kind of to start the second half. Just couldn't get it past the keeper. Shout out to the keeper. And the center back there getting in the way. Otherwise, Benteke, we've seen him have hat tricks before, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Just a missed opportunity. But I think right after this, you guys are going to see where it looked like DC United got out of this play unharmed, unscathed, just a dangerous situation in which they were fine. But that little hit right there, that collision in the box, led to a penalty kick. So, again, one of those times where video review is not your friend. If you're a DC United fan, you hated when they went to go look this over because you know what it meant. That signal means a penalty spot. And look, man, advantage to the person taking the kick. Hell of a hesitation here. Very extra, very easy. Shout out to Klaus providing equalizer for his team. There was nearly 10 minutes of stoppage time in this game. Shout out to Alex Bono coming up with several big saves late to preserve the draw. DC United fell to 10th in the East, but that sounds much worse than it actually is. They're in 10th place, but they're 1-1-3 on the year. 1 win, 1 loss, 3 draws. So 1-1-3 is not horrible. 10th place sounds despicable, but it's not. It just sounds much worse than it actually is. They're just 1-1-3. It's okay. They've only taken 1 loss on the year. That was in Inter Miami at home. When you saw Luis Suarez do what it is that he's been doing most of his life, was just ruining teams' lives late in games. They'll get another chance to get a favorable result this Saturday at home when they host Montreal. So we'll see how that goes. So next week, hopefully, we'll be talking about DC United getting a much-needed win, which will give them 3 points and will definitely move them up the tables. We're going to take our second break. When we get back, going to get into some rapid fire. And, of course, we're going to mention the good old NFL because they care so much about player safety and everything else and changing fun rules. One of the things that's not in rapid fire, but you're talking about adding a game to Christmas Day this year. By the way, Christmas Day is a Wednesday. Typically, the earliest the team plays out in a short week is Thursday night. So keep that in mind as people continue to preach about player safety. You're watching the Focus TV. We'll return shortly. Welcome back. All right, let's get straight to it, man. We got rapid fire here. I think I got 4 or 5 questions for y'all. Good old NFL. Gotta love it. So y'all remember the XFL. Remember the things that they do. Typically kind of different. One of the things XFL has done differently as of late is they changed kickoffs to make things a little bit more exciting. So guess who decided that they wanted to follow suit and also change kickoffs? The NFL, because what people were doing last year where they were getting kickers with strong legs and booting that thing out the back of the end zone because we don't have time for people putting up 6 points or making things difficult, which I think sounds like a very good plan. However, this right here is another one of those things where player safety. To help the offense, yet again, and I'll share this, and I'm going to try to get through it all, but NFL owners meetings are currently happening down in Miami. After 3 days of discussion, they've adopted the format that originated XFL. The proposal passed a vote of 29-3. NFL competition chairman Rich McKay said on Tuesday, a proposal needs approval by 24 to 32 owners to pass, which it did. The new alignment rules represent the most significant on-field rule change in the NFL in years and are designed to reverse more than a decade of declining return rates while also lowering concussion rates. In essence, the format will move the majority of the kicking and return teams downfield to minimize high-speed collisions. It will go into effect for 1 year only in anticipation of possible tweaks over time. So they don't even know if they officially like it. We just try it this year because it might add points and excitement to the table. During the 2024 season, kickers will continue to kick from the 35-yard line, but the other 10 players on kickoff team will line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line. At least 9 members of the return team will line up in a setup zone between the 35 and 30-yard line. Up to 2 returners can line up in a landing zone, between the goal line and the 20-yard line. No one other than the kicker and returners can move until the ball hits the ground or hits a player inside the landing zone. Touchbacks will be marked at the 30-yard line. So if you decide to not put the ball in play, they get the ball 5 yards past where they got it last year, which now makes it 10 yards past where it used to be. Because it used to be a touchback meant 20, that you got the ball to 20-yard line. Then they changed that to the 25. Now they're moving it to the 30, low-key penalizing you for saying, I don't want you to return the ball. We're gonna take 30 yards off the marks this team has to score on you. Gotta love that. And no fair catches will be allowed. No fair catches. In the event that a team wants to attempt an onside kick, it will have to inform official of its intent and would then be allowed to use the NFL's traditional formation. No surprise onside kicks will be allowed. Y'all's thoughts on this very, very new entertaining rule, Octavia, will start with you.
Throw the whole thing away. It's too much. Throw the whole thing away. Just take kickoff out at this point. Just game starts, you start at the 20-yard line or whatever. I don't know. This is too much. I don't watch the XFL, so I don't watch it for a reason. I understand the player safety behind it. I get it, but I have a hard time thinking I'm gonna like this at all. Um, I don't. I really don't have words. 'Cause, like I hadn't really dived too deep into the rule changes yet, outside of just hearing about the kickoff and hearing about the hip drop tackle and all of that stuff. I hadn't really had time to sit down and actually read everything. This just sounds like too much. I just take kickoffs away at this point. Kickers are only good to kick field goals. Like I don't know. Taking away surprise onside kicks, it takes away a competitive advantage at times. You never know. I don't like it. I get it for the player safety aspect of it. Let me be clear about that. I'm sure they're happy that they don't have to run full speed and knock each other out, which is good because there have been some crazy collisions when it comes down to kickoff. But I just think this is a bit much. It's getting too gimmicky and like commercially, like where I just can't even stomach it at this point. I will say I'm glad that they've already said that they're only looking at it currently for a year. Um, my initial thoughts and hope is that it would be just a year and they would do something else. But yeah, I don't like it.
Ray, your thoughts on this very new entertaining twist, the NFL?
Just put flags on them. It's because like it's getting a little ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know what they expect or what like. Yeah, this is foolishness at this point. Like, do you want them to play football or don't you? Like Octavia said, man, I get the safety aspect of it, but it's only so safe you can make it and still resemble the actual game. So either people are gonna have to assume that risk or they're gonna have to find something else to do with their life. Because at this point, it's getting a little 7-on-7-ish. So yeah, man, I don't know, man. Hopefully they'll figure it out. But yeah, this seems absolutely ridiculous.
Look, let me be the first to say this is a horrible idea. And this is coming from somebody who's a fan of a team who literally has players designed for this type of BS. This is stupid. So you telling some of these offensive minds out here, like, you know what the Steelers did today? This rule came out. Y'all know who they signed today? As soon as this rule came out, it was announced. They signed Cordero Patterson today. Immediately. So what you telling me is you're gonna take some of these dudes who be messing up defenses and tell them, hey, here's another thing to game plan for. Seriously? So in a close game, team I root for, Kyle gonna put McCaffrey and Debo back there. That sounds like fun. Sounds like a good idea, y'all. That makes sense. To where if those two dudes and you took the hip drop tackle away, which means dudes who already break all the tackles in the world, you took an added way to break. You just said to some of these yak kings, nah, the one way they can bring you down, they can't do anymore. Bro, these dudes gonna break that first level. What you want these kickers to do? But shout out to y'all, man. Excitement or whatever, man. That thing's gonna get taken back in a year. There's gonna be some teams that score on this twice a game. Because all you did was you took people like Kyle, Sean McVay, Andy Reid, and was like, can you come up with a blocking scheme? Why, I believe I can. Y'all serious? Y'all ain't think this through. It's okay. We're going to get to this one real quick because why not, man? Jonte Porter. It's around to wrap this for Jonte Porter. Is under investigation by the NBA following multiple instances of betting irregularities over the past several months. Multiple sources told ESPN in the game on January 26th against the Clippers, there was an increased betting interest on the under for Porter props, which for the night was set around 5.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. There was also an over-under for Porter's made three-pointers, which was 0.5. That evening, Porter played just 4 minutes before leaving the game of what the Raptors said was that he aggravated an eye injury he had suffered 4 days earlier against the Memphis Grizzlies. Porter did not score against the Clippers, but had 3 rebounds and 1 assist. He did not attempt the three, meaning the under hit on all of his props. The next day, as part of a daily report to users on betting results, DraftKings Sportsbook stated that the under on Porter's three-pointer was the biggest money winner for the bettors of any NBA player props from games that evening. Porter played 19 minutes 2 days later and scored 12 points with 7 rebounds and 3 assists. March 20th against the Kings, Porter played just 3 minutes before exiting because of what the Raptors said was an illness and did not return. He did not score after attempting 1 shot and had 2 rebounds. Sportsbook had his over-under set around 7.5 points, 5.5 rebounds. The next day, DraftKings Sportsbook reported in a media release that Porter's prop bets were the number one moneymaker from the night in the NBA. At least one other U.S. sportsbook detected unusual betting interest on the Porter props in the games in question. A sportsbook industry source told ESPN that multiple betting accounts attempted to bet large amounts, upward of $10,000 and $20,000 on Porter unders in the January game against the Clippers. Betting limits on NBA player props vary by sportsbook and customers, but are typically around $1,000 to $2,000. So people went from typically around $1,000 to $2,000 to place $10,000 to $20,000 bets on this specific prop. People were trying to do whatever they could to bet Jonte Porter props against the Clippers, the source said. And then just a few days ago, the same thing. We had a bunch of people trying to bet under for more. Thoughts on all of this? It seems like professional sports was so against gambling. Now they best friends. Thoughts on something like this happening this quick for someone like, and again, this is alleged. We don't know if this is official, but the fact that it's even here, would we be talking about this if this like betting wasn't on it, gambling wasn't on the table for a player like Jonte Porter, right?
What did they think was going to happen? Once I always felt uncomfortable once professional sports leagues started cozying up to gambling sites. Like, really, man, what did you think was going to happen? You know, then especially after all the who's my man from the Falcons? Calvin Ridley, yeah. Like, of course these guys are betting on games, and of course they're manipulating the results to win. What? Like, yeah, this is just American greed showing itself. I'm not surprised, you know, again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's proven to be what they're suspecting it to be, because especially for a guy like this, nobody's really paying attention to him. He can easily just slide under the radar like this. Like, come on, man. Like, there's no way in the world we didn't think we would put FanDuel on the baseline of NBA courts and things like this not happen. So stop acting shocked. Stop acting appalled. Just say we messed this one up. Yeah, but it again, I'm not shocked in the least bit. I'm surprised it's taking this long.
Octavia.
So, this is all alleged, but if this is true, he a wild boy. Because, I mean, bruh, you got people betting $10,000 on you. That's suspect enough. They need to find out who these people are that bet on him and find the connection because they know each other some type of way. Because I'm gonna be completely transparent and honest. I didn't know who the hell he was. Okay, it wasn't until all this happened that I realized this is Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. Like, come on, bro. And they said he's on a two-way deal. Now, Grayson, he's making $400K. That's a lot more. I would tell. I'll take the $400K if you don't want it, sir. Because it seems like you don't. Because you're willing to sacrifice the $400K to whatever you think you can possibly get. I guess as a cut from these people that are betting on you because it's happening. There's no way. Especially with all the injuries. They're not even real injuries. An eye injury. It looks like he's missed multiple games for personal reasons. It's a little suspect. Yeah, I don't understand it. But like Ray said too, like I'm not surprised. We're seeing an increase with it. You talking about Calvin Ridley, Jameson Williams, and all of them were betting as well in Detroit. Um, and I'll be honest, it's probably more still betting, but they're probably being a little bit more careful than this. 'Cause this is blatant. Like, come on, bro. Like my thing is, if you're gonna be sneaky, be sneaky. This is not sneaky. Especially with knowing how much and how much they're able to find out when you've had examples like Calvin Ridley, Jameson Williams, all of these other players who've already gotten in trouble for betting on themselves and manipulating and stuff. And I mean, this took me right back to the what's Tim Donahue, the NBA ref and all that. I watched the documentary a while ago, and I was like, wow, he was doing all that. Now you got me looking real suspicious at you now, sir. So I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that people are so blatant with things. To have somebody bet $10,000 on you and nobody knows who you are is wild. That's just wild. Like there's no there's no easing into it. Let me bet like a couple hundred or something. But when I bet, I be betting like $10. You talking about people betting 10,000? I bet $10 on Jason Tatum. People are betting 10,000 on Jonte Porter. Stop it. This is crazy.
When you say it out loud like that, it sounds horrible.
Because it is horrible. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, like Ray said, man, what y'all expect? And it to me, it just speaks volumes. Like a two-way dude is the first one that gets caught up.
He's struggling for money. Give me your $400K then, bro. I take it.
All right. Kentucky lost to Oakland 80-76 this year's NCAA tournament, one of the biggest upsets. Touched on this a little earlier. Obviously, Coach Cal's made a name for himself for the way that he recruits, specifically bringing in high-level talent from the high school ranks for years. Now, folks are openly discussing his future at Kentucky. Not saying that it's in danger. We're saying that it isn't, but it's a talking point, and it's real loud at this moment. We'll see what ends up happening. But here's a quote recently from a media appearance. Having this program in today's environment, it's a little different now. I mean, kids are 25, 26, 27. Now, how do you continue to do it with freshmen? What do they have to look like physically? Then do you bring in some transfers out of the portal to make up for your team? Some people are not taking any freshmen. They're just going in the portal with 12 new guys and hope it works out. I would tell you I like the combination of both. We just got to get the right transfer who understands what this is. We got to keep coaching these young kids. Those are what Cal said and what changes Kentucky and he himself might make after going all freshman everything to there are men out here on this court.
Yeah, man, he's going to have to pivot. He's lived off the overload the team with young talent and get as much guys in the NBA as you can the next year. I don't think that's going to work anymore because if you can't be losing to Oakland and then say you're going to get 6 guys in the first round. It's just not going to go that way, no matter how talented they are. So yeah, for a guy his age to kind of restructure everything he's built for the past 15 or so odd years, that's going to be tough. So yeah, and I think he understands that. I think his statement was was very poignant. Like he's at a crossroads right now. I don't even know how you would mesh those two things. I feel like you got to be one or the other. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But in regards of his standing with the school, if he's on a hot seat or anything, I'm not paying attention to that. It's Cal at Kentucky. Like he's going to leave when he's good and ready, plain and simple. Unless something catastrophic happens, so we can just we can just kill all those conversations right now. But yeah, man, I think he knows that he's going to have to do something different. Because it's just not going to be enough freshman talent in one class moving forward to compete, with the portal and everything. So yeah, back to the drawing board.
Octavia.
Yeah, shape up or ship out. I don't know what to tell you. I think that sometimes these legendary coaches um, think that the times are supposed to stay the same. Everything is supposed to go the way that they've always had it go for however long they've been. As we've seen recently with Nick Saban, that didn't work too well, and he decided to take a seat. So he's going to have to make that decision, and I agree with Ray as well. Like he's only leaving when he's ready to leave. I don't pay attention to the noise either. Is like you said, is Coach K at the University of Kentucky? Like that's just what it is. It's was always going to be until he decides he wants to retire and go on out into yonder in the sunset. Um, but yeah, he's definitely going to have to do something because the making excuses at the press conference afterwards ain't going to help. You know, it's documented. I'm not, and I don't know exactly the average age of his team, but I mean he's had some seasoned players before. Granted, most of his players are one and dones and that type of thing, but he's gonna have to pivot, and that's what good coaches do. They pivot to the times, they adjust, and they find a way to get their program back on track. So yeah, maybe it might take him a little while, and I think he has the luxury of having a little while because it's Coach K. Excuse me, Coach Cal. So I think he has the privilege of possibly working into it. I don't know if he got too long just because of the stature of their program and what they want to continue to be. When you talk about blue bloods, you talk about Kentucky. Um, so I do think he's going to have to, find a solution pretty quickly. But to me, that falls back on him. Like he got to actually probably roll up his sleeves a little bit more than he probably had to do in the past because of who he is. He's always going to get young talent that wants to come to him. We think about all the players that come to Kentucky. So he has that pedigree. But like you said, losing to Oakland ain't going to make people want to come there. So he's gonna have to switch something up. But that's what the coaches do. They adapt and they keep pushing forward. So I expect him to be able to do it. I'm hoping he's able to do it in a reasonable time. If he's not, I'm hoping he self-aware enough to know that this just ain't my thing, and bow out gracefully.
Yeah, I think I'm with Ray. I just think he has to pivot. Like I think even next year they got like the second highest rated recruiting class. Instead of having 6 freshmen, cut it to 2. You recruit good enough that you can get 2 of the top 3 in the country, 2 of the top 5 in the country. Pull a Danny Hurley. Just take 2 freshmen, get the 2 best ones you can take. Go get you some grown-ups. Slide the kid, make the freshmen come in. Y'all are role players, unless you take someone's job, and that's it. Like and again, not to cite UConn again, but Stephen Castle's doing that right now. That's a highly touted freshman they have. He fits a role there. That's what he does. He fulfills a role. And then you know how stuff is right now. Maybe some of these freshmen, they're not gonna be one and done. Some people might take 2 years. And that's 2 years that you got it. Maybe the second year might end up being what that old first year used to look like for you, Cal. There's nothing wrong with that. But go get you some grown-ups, man. It's rough out there. Or even some of the kids you go get the ones that might be a little bit more physically ready, because there's grown men out here, man. Like it's real. Last question, and we out of here. Told you guys we're gonna talk about this after the first 2 rounds of the NCAA women's tournament. Many basketball fans, are now questioning, or at least there's noise. The noise is a little louder this year about the fact that the top 16 seeds get to play at home the first 2 rounds, saying that the game needs to be at neutral sites. So now the debate or the conversation is whether it's fair for away teams to play in hostile environments to make it to the Sweet 16. Pretty much saying that it's stacked against those teams as road teams playing in the host building. Thoughts on how that sets up, how the setup is in women's basketball versus the men's, and if they shouldn't in fact change it. Keep in mind in the men's, while you might not play at home, like, bro, I don't think UConn's leaving the Northeast until they get to the championship. So, like, some schools, like, their pool is their pool. Like, if one of the Carolinas play in that region of the country, it don't gotta be their home. Like, y'all know that's not a neutral site game. I think we all know that. That said, want to get you guys' thoughts on this as it pertains to women's game. I think it's fine how it is, personally. I think it makes the regular season that much more important, because that could be a good springboard to the tournament. Or now you know what happens if you don't take care of business. Like, you got to go across the country. It is what it is. I tell you.
Yeah, like I wouldn't care either way, to be fair. I'm fine with how it is now because, like you said, it makes you have to play hard during your regular season, and do what you need to do throughout the season. But at the same time, like I wouldn't mind seeing, some people have to travel. It puts a little bit more, like better some like question marks. It gives you a different feel or whatever. So I wouldn't be opposed to either way, to be honest. I like it how it is, because I mean, this picture right here also, like, Duke probably liked it too, sending Ohio State home when they on court. So you're always going to get it from different sides. Some people like to be road warriors, and I want to go out there and beat Ohio State on their court. I want to go out there and beat Iowa on their court. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody's different, so that's why it doesn't bother me either way. If they keep it the same, that's cool. They change it, that's cool. Because like you said, even if they change it and they put it in certain regions, we know these certain places, they're going to travel to wherever they want to go to see their team. It's going to happen. The Iowas are going to go wherever. The Dukes are going to go wherever. The UConns are going to go wherever. The South Carolinas are going to go wherever. The big name programs, they're going to travel well. It's just a part of it. So, I mean, it doesn't faze me either way.
Right.
Yeah, much to do about nothing, man. If you change it, fine. If you don't, fine. Like both of you guys said, like the top seeds are going to be in that region anyway. It just is what it is, man. You're gonna have to win with the odds stacked against you if you're a lower seed. So just go win if you can, and if you can't, then it is what it is. Like whenever people come up and argue about making these broad strokes, they act like it's going to significantly change the outcome anyway. It's not. The top seeds are more often than not going to stomp on the lower seeds with a few upsets sprinkled in between. So people just want stuff to complain about. You know, it, yeah, I'm with Octavia, man. I wouldn't be moved either way. But yeah, it is. Notice that, of course, people are complaining when they lose. Like so yeah, man. Like I don't. What do you want the lower seed to have an advantage? No, like the teams that are in that position earned it. So either you also earn it or you deal with adversity. It is what it is.
Yeah, my man breaking Anchorman said, just loud noises, man. That's all this is, just loud noises. Certain teams, if you play anywhere in their region, it's a home game. All right, y'all? It's a home game. We see this in preseason tournaments. Watch the Maui Invitational. Some teams have home courts in Maui. You know what Maui's next to? Nobody. Like, it is what it is. Like Ray said, if you're gonna win the whole thing, it's not about where you play that anyways, man. Like, it's about what you do between the lines. So it is what it is. I honestly feel like the men did it, except they just don't let them play in their buildings. But if you low-key watch how the men's game set up, how many times has the Carolina teams leave the Carolinas? How many times do like the top West Coast teams leave that time zone? You only leave the time zone if you're a West Coast team. If you're a low seed, then they don't care where they send you. They send you clear cross country and telling you to thug it out. The rules are the rules. And as Ray said, if you're a lower seed, it's not up to you anymore, man. That's what happens by virtue of you being, in fact, a lower seed. I want to thank y'all for tuning in this week. We will see y'all in 2 weeks. So I think in 2 weeks, we'll be looking at the Final Four. So you guys enjoy the next week of basketball, and we'll see y'all soon.